Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. Joining us in this conversation, Minister of State for Prime Minister's Office, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Sir, thank you so much. We can't start without talking about Kashmir when we speak to you. You just come back from the state. What's your assessment? Is the suspension of operation, ceasefire as Mehbooba Mufti is calling it, is it working on the ground?
I think let's first be very clear, it was a conditional ceasefire, so to say, and I think more than anything else, it has actually exposed Pakistan, it has also exposed the terrorists, it has also exposed the perpetrators of terrorism. Now let's not forget that Pakistan is a state which was established on the analogy of having an Islamic state based on the teachings and principles of the Holy Quran. And for any practicing Muslim, Ramzan is a holy month when he is expected not to think evil, not to say evil, not to cause harm to any fellow human being. But here you have a series of civilian killings happening, spate of violence happening ever since the advent of Ramzan. So I think if those who claim to be the believers of Islam and the followers of Holy Quran do not have the conviction enough to follow the sanctity of Ramzan, I think you can't blame the forces. And therefore, I'm proud, all of us are proud that the forces are actually taking an appropriate retaliatory action as it should be.
So you're blaming Pakistan, but I'll show you data. I have data which shows that since this unilateral ceasefire was announced from 17th of May till 20th of May, which is 17, 18, 19, 20th, 4 days, 21 incidents of stone pelting have been reported, which is about 5 a day. You compare that with the rest of the year 2018, in 5 months about 361, which if I calculate is about 2.5 incidents a day. So since the time you've decided to hold your fire, double the number of incidents have happened.
I'm glad that you have figured out this data, because this is going to be a great eye opener for all of us, more so for those who are sympathetic towards terrorism or those who are perpetrating terrorism in the name of Islam. And therefore, as I said, if those who claim to be the believers of Islam and the followers of the teachings of the Holy Quran do not have any difficulty in indulging in all that which is forbidden in the holy month of Ramzan, I don't, nobody else can be blamed for bringing them to book, because in any case, it was never said that the stone pelters would be let off or they'll be allowed to go scot-free. And therefore, stone pelters will be dealt with as the stone pelters have to be dealt with. The terrorists will be dealt with as the terrorist has to be dealt with. If a terrorist, more so if he claims to be a follower of Holy Quran, does not have the conviction to follow it, I think he doesn't deserve any sympathy or doesn't deserve any leniency.
And this is not just about stone pelting. The data shows that just from 17th to 20th, there have been incidents of grenade lobbing, weapon snatching, one incident of firing by the terrorists and then running away. One encounter has also happened. Given this kind of background, why did your government agree to this ceasefire?
No, let's be very clear. It's not actually ceasefire per se or in general.
Suspension of operation.
Let's not, no, it's not even that. Let's not forget the very important prefix which we come across before the world ceasefire. It is conditional ceasefire, which is that if you are observing the holy fast and you don't wish to be disturbed for good reasons of faith, then I am there to help you follow your faith. But if you do not, then nothing would prevent me from protecting myself and also from retaliating. And that's precisely what is happening. All these incidents, I am glad you have brought out, because this should be a huge introspection for all of us, for the entire nation. They go out to rather prove, may I go to that extent to say that they are the perpetrators of terrorism who are trying to propagate it in the name of Islam are not actually faithful even to Islam. And would I go one step further and say that they are not even faithful to the so-called freedom struggle which they are tending to be protagonists about, because this doesn't follow any freedom struggle anywhere in the history. Is it a Martin Luther King model? Is it a Nelson Mandela model? Or is it a Mahatma Gandhi model? Or is it a Guru Gobind Singh model? What kind of a model is it that you instigate the children of the neighbor to become stone pelters and place their life at risk? Your own children are placed in safe heavens, and then you also instigate others to to violate the sanctity of their own faith, their religion, their Ramzan.
So would you then recommend to the Union Home Minister and to the Prime Minister that this is not working out, that we should not, you know, I was speaking to security forces and they feel you've tied their hands?
Absolutely not, absolutely not. As been made abundantly clear, this is a conditional ceasefire, and I was just around the borders today. The retaliatory action which is happening from the Indian side now was not witnessed for decades together. There's a heavy damage being caused even on the other side. Nothing has prevented, absolutely not, the security forces.
But you were talking about the line of control, the international border.
No, even
but
within.
The cordon and search operations, let me be specific, the cordon and search operations that Army, Police and CRPF were carrying out, they were asked to hold on to those operations. Kaso was held on to in the month of Ramzan. Will you recommend to the Home Minister and the Prime Minister that don't put such a question mark on the Kaso?
No, I like to ask that, answer that in two parts. A, that I don't have the mandate to be advising the Home Ministry.
So you're a member of Parliament from that part of the world.
Let me complete. Or the Ministry of Defence, that's one. But they, in their own wisdom and discretion, have laid out a mechanism, and if at all this was a conditional holding back of operations, this was possibly only limited up to the preemptive operations. But certainly if there is even the slightest movement or slightest kind of a conspiracy happening on the other side, there is full freedom to the security forces to retaliate.
You know, I know for a fact that the special representative Dineshwar Sharma, whom we refer to as the interlocutor, he went to the valley time and again, and he came back by saying that this action of repeatedly targeting the terrorists is not really getting you the emotional support from the valley. Instead, it is helping Hizbul Mujahideen and Lashkar-e-Toiba recruit more and more Kashmiris. Was that a concern when your government decided to hold fire?
I would not like to challenge what he said, because he's been in the ground and he's been meeting all sections of people, and therefore we have to honor whatever inferences he has gathered, and there could be a merit in that. But I think this is also, in a way, a vindication of what the interlocutor has said, or what the Home Ministry has said, that look here, if this is so, that any provocation from our side is tending to so-called alienate the youth, which I am not sure whether it is truly so. As an individual, I will not be able to totally subscribe to that. But having said that, even if that be the reason or allegation that we are tending to provoke an alienation, look here, we, in all good faith and all the good intentions, are ready to restrain ourselves for the benefit of the youth. And if they don't, the vindication is there before you. So this means there are factors other than this which are actually operating, and I have been holding this view personally, at the risk of sounding even unorthodox, that this is more or less a mercenary terrorism going on over there. This is also a mercenary freedom struggle. This is not a freedom struggle which is guided by the principles of Martin Luther or Nelson Mandela or Gandhi. If that be so, these protagonists of freedom struggle would not have lodged their own children in safe havens. They would have first made their own, the sacrifice of their own kith and kin. And besides that, many of these so-called separatists have been the mainstream leaders in the past. When they lost out or could not make headway in the mainstream politics, they indulged in this politics by other means. So I may also go on to add that the separatism in Kashmir is rather politics by other means. It is not even separatist by conviction. It is not separatism by belief. And it is not freedom struggle by ideology. And when there is a mercenary element happening to the maximum extent, then certainly faith becomes the casualty, religion becomes the casualty. And I am glad this conditional ceasefire announcement made by the Government of India has exposed this thesis of ours.
So then, in your view, this amnesty to first-time stone pelters, the second initiative of holding fire, unilateral ceasefire in the month of Ramzan, in your view, this is not really taking you to the solution that you desire?
No, I will not say that too. And I'll again try to explain that in two ways. A, that as a responsible democratic state, it is the responsibility of the center, the Government of India, to try to help out our youth. Even if they've gone astray, who will bring them to the mainstream? It's we have the responsibility. And also the parents of the children, the civil society, I think they also must come forward to discharge their kind of role which is expected of them. I'm not sure whether they are doing their job as is expected of them. And secondly, let's also not forget that there's a huge number of youth in Kashmir Valley who have actually moved ahead. And sometimes I tend to believe or tend to feel that they even moved ahead of their counterparts or peers in the other parts of the country. I'll tell you how. In 2017 itself, there were at least 19 young boys and girls who qualified IIT JEE exam, which is a very prestigious exam, and all India entrance test for IIT and NITs. And they hailed from the most terror-struck districts of Kashmir Valley. I had the opportunity to spend 2-3 hours with them over a cup of tea. I invited them over to Delhi, and they were fascinating stories. They would say कि बाहर गोलाबारी होती थी, हम 14-14 घंटे पढ़ाई करते थे, because the Kashmiri youth is highly enlightened, has a high caliber level, and is also very much connected with his peers outside Kashmir because of all the modern gadgets that are available now, internet, etc. So all the reading material is also there, and he doesn't wish to miss out the opportunity which is being made available to him by the Modi government or by Prime Minister Modi. He's absolutely aware. Now, for example, I'll give you another instance. For the last 2-3 years, we have been having a topper among the civil services and IAS exam. Last year we had 10th topper from Kashmir. Year before that we had second topper from Anantnag, another terror-struck district. So I think the majority of youth in Kashmir have actually moved ahead, because this is third generation of youth post 1990. They don't carry the baggage of their elders or their ancestors or their parents. They wish to be a part of the aspirational India, and they find in Prime Minister Modi and his initiative and his leadership an opportunity which is actually giving them a world avenue scenario which they do not wish to lose out, and they have joined that journey. There are a handful of few who may be, for a variety of reasons, getting into that or maybe getting astray, and of course it's very much the responsibility of the government as well as the parents and the civil society to help them out.
Let's talk about the other part of that state, which is Jammu. Because you're a member of parliament from that part. Do you think Kathua has alienated the youngsters, the members of Jammu civil society? You've been quoted to say a CBI inquiry could have been asked for in the Kathua gang rape.
No, see, as far as, to be very specific, as far as the CBI inquiry is concerned, the centre has no objection to it, as far as that case is concerned. Now, all of us must understand there are only two routes by which you can actually go ahead with a CBI inquiry. Either the state government asks for it, or somebody goes to the court and gets a reference. Unfortunately, in the early stages of this episode, which was somewhere in January, the friends from the lawyer fraternity who could have actually got a reference from the court and gone ahead,
they decided to become politicians.
If I say so, they'll get annoyed because most of them are friends. But anyway, if you have said so, I tend to believe. So instead of, getting a reference for CBI from the court, they decided to go on the streets for whatever reasons, because they saw an opportunity occurring to them, which I don't challenge them, because it's a democracy. Everybody has the right to follow the path that he feels good for himself. Meanwhile, we lost out that period of 1 month, 1.5 months. And now the case has reached such a stage that the Supreme Court itself has said that since the charge sheet has been filed, there would not be enough justification for handing it over to CBI. So I'm not very sure how we can actually now go in for a CBI thing, because the Supreme Court has in fact made an observation not once but on 2 occasions.
But your party colleagues, sir, are not backing off. Today, Llull Singh's brother, a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Jammu, he has been caught on camera using the choicest of abuses for not just a woman but an elected chief minister of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. What action will your party take against him?
No, I have not, honestly speaking, heard all that. Let me hear all that and then respond to it.
But this kind of behavior by your party colleague, even if you have not heard it, would you?
No, I think in public life, regardless of whichever party we belong to, or even if we don't belong to the political spectrum, it is expected from each one of us to observe certain norms of.
Okay, from Kashmir, let's shift focus to the other K, which is Karnataka. Politically, how do you see? Has it whatever has damaged, recordings have come out, allegations of horse trading have been made. Has this entire episode damaged the clean image of your party?
No, certainly not. I'll tell you why. On the other hand, it has rather enhanced the clean image. It has put forward a very obvious message that look here, this is a party which does not indulge in maneuvering just to form a government. And to those who accused us of horse trading, I think there could not have been a better answer than what the National President Amit Shah ji said the other day, कि हमें कहा जाता था कि हॉर्स ट्रेडिंग कर रहे हैं, खुद तो सारा अस्तबल ही उठा करके ले गए.
You were the single largest party, but you did not have the majority. By going in, even though you had only 104, do you regret in hindsight, do you think it was a bad decision, bad move by the Karnataka
No, I don't
unit?
think, because at this point in time when the things move so fast, it's rather difficult. It's easier to, to introspect later on, or to come to certain inferences in retrospection. But in perspective, when you are actually thinking prospectively, it's sometimes it's not easy to foresee what you are seeing in hindsight in retrospection. So obviously, a party which was the largest, and largest by a huge margin compared to others, had reason to trust and believe that this would be the party which had the mandate to govern over the state, and therefore giving due reverence to the mandate of the people, the other members would also, have the judiciousness to throw their lot with the largest single party. Now, for whatever reasons they thought otherwise, कि अस्तबल चला गया. Now that is their way of politics, not the BJP way of politics.
You were saying there was no horse trading, but your party president Amit Shah himself a short while back said, had these Congress and JDS MLAs had they not been locked up in a resort, BJP would have had the numbers. How? If they were not locked up in the resort?
But that doesn't mean that he meant that they would have been purchased. That means that they were held back from exercising their genuine choice, and that's precisely what I'm saying. When you had 104 figure, you were the largest party, you had a decisive mandate of the people of Karnataka, the chief ministerial candidate had a reason to believe that obviously he has to say clear, and yes, and therefore he had also reason to believe that if given a choice, all these members would throw their lot, keeping in reverence the mandate of the people. But as has been rightly pointed out by Shri Ahmed Shah, because they were kept in lock and key and not allowed to come out and actually exercise their will for whatever reasons, coercion or otherwise, the things went other way.
But when they reached the floor of the assembly, they were no longer under lock and key. If your party's chief minister Yadurappa was so confident, why did he not move the motion?
Now, shall I respond to this smart question? By that time, the lock and key had already worked its way into them.
Before I let you go, sir, one question which pertains to your ministry, which is the Department of Personnel and Training. It is being reported that the government, there is a proposal from the Prime Minister's office that the cadre allocation for IAS, IPS and other All India Service Officer happens after the foundation course. A lot of people are saying that this would no longer make the cadre allotment objective. There will be political interference. Why such a proposal, and what are the details of it?
Giving due indulgence to the democratic propriety and opinion making, it was decided that let's gather opinion from all these stakeholders and different cadre controlling authorities, and therefore an exercise in that direction was initiated. But certainly this is just at the level of consultation and opinion obtaining. There is no such decision taken as of today, and that's about all, and that's about it. And I think I have the opportunity to tell through you to the audience that they should not be unduly perturbed about it, because no such decision has been as of date taken that there would be a foundation course preceding the allocation of cadre. We are still following the same.
We get that you've not decided. What we are trying to understand is, why did your government even think of tinkering with the current process?
No, I think this is a thinking government. This thinks 24/7. That is the difference between the earlier government and this government.
Right. That is what I'm trying to understand. That what is the problem that your government thought is with the current system of cadre allocation that you decided to open up the thinking process?
No problem at all. No problem at all. But since we believe in reform, transform and perform, so we are performing. If in the course of performing we find that this is a reform which is worth adopting, we will. If we are convinced that it would transform, if we don't, we will give it up. But we will not stop thinking, because this is not a government which works only 6 hours during the office hours, it works all the 24. So in all fairness, when we received an input like this and a strong opinion from certain quarters, we thought let's also think find out what others think about it.
Dr. Jitendra Singh, thanks so much for speaking to CNN News 18.